Hey guys, John here from Bring the SEO. Today I want to talk about a bit of a simple technique that you can use during sales calls, whether it's during the first conversation, when you're pitching, or perhaps when you're actually setting the appointment. I was having a really interesting conversation with one of the members recently, and he said to me, John, I find myself talking too much during sales presentations. And this can be a real problem for those of you who are pitching your services. It can be really easy, especially for those just getting started, it can be really easy to overspeak. In other words, the prospect or client asks a question and you find yourself talking in circles for 5 or 10 minutes when the answer should have been quick and concise. Now, of course, if you're saying too much especially on a sales call, if you're saying too much on a sales call, it will lose you the sale. I know this to be true. I've experienced it myself. I think some of the best advice that I can give when it comes to sales calls is only say what needs to be said and then shut up. But having said that, this was a really common problem, especially for those, who are new to sales and lack some confidence when it comes to speaking with new prospects. Now, in that conversation, I shared with this particular person, I shared with him a strategy that I've started using, and I found this to be very simple, but also very, very effective. It's certainly nothing new. And what I'm doing is I'm using cue cards, right? These cue cards are simple, these are just printouts that I put together. Threw these together. I thought about the response around common or frequently asked questions that I get during either, the pre-qualifying stage or the actual sales presentation itself. I've thought about the questions that are asked frequently. And I've also thought about the questions that I was unhappy with the way in which I responded or answered those questions. Now, I spent the time to sit down and really think through the best type of response to give when those questions come up. And like I said, I just put these simple cue cards together. I've seen these referred to as flashcards as well. I've printed out a whole bunch. I've got them here in my desk. And when these questions come up, I refer to my cue card quickly. In other words, I'm mentally prepared for the question. And of course, you want to be careful that when you read from a cue card, it doesn't sound synthetic and unnatural. But over time, you'll probably need to refer to your cue cards less and perhaps even get to a point where you don't need them. But to begin with, if you're lacking confidence on sales calls, or you find yourself over-speaking and potentially losing the prospect because of that, then get yourself some cue cards and start referring to them on these calls. I'll give you an example. Here's one that, actually that one's probably a little bit long-winded. Here's one here that I get asked quite often when I'm speaking with other SEO consultants who are inquiring about the training. Because I get asked all the time, what do you do? And my simple response to this, I want to make sure that I answer the question quickly and concisely. So I provide business development training for SEO consultants and agency owners who are looking for help with client acquisition, sales, improving processes and maximizing profits. Bam. I've said my bit and I've made my point, and it's very clear and concise. I'm not rambling on, talking in circles. I'm sure, like I said, this is a common problem for people who are new to sales. So spend the time. My recommendation would be to think about the questions that you haven't answered well. Think about questions that come up frequently. Spend the time, sit down and type out very short, concise replies and put them on these cue cards. Now, I'll say this, you don't want to be sitting here reading a cue card if you've got someone on a Zoom call. So you might be able to position themselves perhaps beneath camera so that you can quickly reference the card. I find myself using these cue cards a lot when I'm following up with leads, when I'm dialing through Kixi or some other piece of software. In other words, leads that come through, I'm performing that follow-up sequence. So cue cards, guys, make use of them. I've found them to be incredibly helpful. All right, hope you found this video useful, and I'll speak to you in the next one. Cheers. Hey, if you've enjoyed this video and you'd like to learn more, head over to bringtheseo.com. We provide business development training for SEO consultants wanting to improve their processes, increase profits, and scale to $100,000 a month or more without all the stress and overwhelm.